Hey guys, today we're going to talk about average rate of change. This is the same calculations you would do for slope. If you remember those calculations, it went something like this. M equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. That looks familiar because that is the slope formula. It is on your formula chart. Another way to think of this average rate of change is using the triangle as the symbol for change. It's a change in y over the change in x. Now it's going to be a little bit different about this, as normally when you do this, you're looking at points on a graph, and you're figuring out what slope is. But now we don't have points on a graph. We have a situation. So we're going to have to look at a situation, decide what the x and what the y is, what is independent, what is dependent, and then go from there. So let's look at our first example. The average cost per year is shown in the table below. Find the average rates of change between the years that are asked. Now, already, I hope you know that years would be considered what is independent, because the cost isn't going to the year, the time isn't going to depend on the cost, but the cost is going to depend on the year. Also, if you're ever looking at a table, the first row will always be your x's and the second will always be your y's. So it's asking us again, well, let's just go ahead and write down that our independent variable is the years. We're going to call that our x's. And the y, the dependent, is going to be the cost. And they're wanting us to specifically look at 1985 through 1988. So I'm going to do what I would, I'm going to go ahead and label these as if I'm labeling them for slope. This isn't a requirement, but it might help your brain a little bit. So I'm going to call this my first x, and this is going to be my first y. I'm going to call this my second x and my second y. And now if I applied this formula, it's pretty easy just to plug the numbers in. So I have y2, which is 25, minus y1, which is 22, over x2, which is 1988, minus x1, which is 1985. So I have 25 minus 22 is 3. 1988 minus 1985, that's my dog. Sorry. Harley, stop. No. Minus 3. 3 divided by 3 is 1. So the cost per year is $1 per year. Okay, let's look at it again. Now we have between 1988 and 1999. So I'm going to go ahead and erase a little bit of this right here just so I don't get confused. Okay, we're going to call 1988, we'll have that be our x1. So this 25 will be our y1. This will be my x2, and this will be my y2. So again, applying the formula, I would do 25 minus 25. And 1990 minus 1988. You can probably already see where this is going. So the cost per year is $0 per year. Okie dokie. Mr. Juarez joined a gym to lose weight. After 3 weeks of membership, he weighed 189 pounds. When he had been a member for 12 weeks, he weighed 162 pounds. Find the rate of change for Mr. Juarez's weight. So the first thing you have to do is say, what are the two things happening? I see that we have weeks and we have weight. So let's see, does the weight depend on the weeks, or do weeks depend on the weight? That's the question you have to ask yourself. So I'm going to say that the independent is going to be my weeks. We'll call that our x's. And our dependent's going to be my weight, or his weight. That'll be my y. So let's see, we have 3 weeks and 189. So let's see, we said that this is our our x's. So I'm going to call it x1. Just helps my brain. I don't know about yours, but it helps mine. And the weight, we're going to call that our y1. Then it says that at 12 weeks, I'm going to call that my x2. And then I have 162 pounds, which is my y2. Which, going back to that, it's just understanding that these points are like ordered pairs. It's kind of like, let's go back up to this top here where it talks about the year and the cost. You can look at this as an ordered pair, 1985 to 22 and 1988 to 25. And you could graph these points and you'd get the same slope. And again, you could write them as ordered pairs. That might help for your brain, again, to process x's and y's. You can decide what works for you. My ordered pairs on this situation is going to be 3 and 189. And then we have 12 and 162. So again, that might help your brain in processing. We'll call this again x1, y1, x2, y2. So 162 minus 189 over 12 minus 3 equals a negative 27 over 9, which is a negative 3. So it is 3 pounds, negative 3 pounds per week. Now, let's talk about that because I almost didn't put the negative there. So we need to talk about, what is going on here? We need to talk about the negative because you don't always have to write the negative. You always have to give some indication that it's in a decline or negative. So if I didn't put negative 3 pounds, I could say that Mr. Juarez is losing 3 pounds per week. So that would also denote that there's a negative there. So just keep that in mind, because if you just said 3 pounds, you need to say, well, 3 pounds what? Gaining 3 pounds, losing 3 pounds. You need to make an indicator of what is it. Next one, while working for her English essay, Tammy noticed that her clock read 12:32 and the word count for her paper was 568. So let's say we have time and we have a word count. So again, you have to ask, what is affecting the other? Is the word count affecting time, or is time affecting the word count? Well, again, always time is going to be your x. And the words, or the word count, in this situation is going to be my y. So again, if I looked at we have 2 times, and we're going to look at this very carefully, because if you notice, they both have a 12 in the front. So really and truly, because of the 12 being the same, I can just go ahead and just look at the seconds, the 32 seconds and the 42 seconds. So my first ordered pair, if this is my x1 and this is my y1, would look like this: 32, 568. Now, would you be wrong if you said 12:32? No, but you don't need it because the 12s would just cancel each other out. Then the next one is going to be 48 and 1,128. So let's go ahead and do the work for that one. It's 1,128 minus 568. 48 minus 32. We end up with 560 over 16. And that's 560 words in 16 minutes. Now, if I simplified this, well, I could divide the 560 into 16. Okay, and I would end up with 35. But is that 35 words per minute or 35 minutes per word? So you have to make those kind of decisions also. This is going to be 35 words per minute. If I took 560 and I continued to simplify it, I would end up with a 35 over 1, which is where we get our 35 words in 1 minute. So again, you're reading a situation, you're figuring out the relationship, what are the two things they're in relationship with, then you have to decide which is independent and which is dependent. I have faith in you. Good luck. Please ask questions if you have any. Bye-bye.